Merry Christmas! From our house to yours, it's so good to celebrate this holiday with you. I love the lights, the beauty, the joy of Christmas, all the family traditions, and I'm sure you have yours. But it's the truths that I see about God, the truths of Christmas, that every year heal me and free me. The beauty of God we see at Christmas. These truths of Christmas that heal us and free us actually do make it into the artifacts of popular culture around the holidays. For instance, the Charlie Brown Christmas special. Has anyone seen it yet this year? Plan to? Charlie Brown is just depressed about Christmas. The decorations are not doing it for him. He's not getting any Christmas cards. His friends are actually cutting him off, tearing him down. Finally, in utter despair, Charlie Brown just bursts out, "Can't anyone tell me the real meaning of Christmas?" Linus, the kid with the security blanket, answers Charlie Brown by simply retelling the story from the Bible of the shepherds and angels and the birth of Jesus. "That's what Christmas is all about, Charlie Brown," he says. By the end of the program, Charlie Brown has actually found freedom and restoration through the truth of Christmas. And at the end of the show, Charlie Brown is singing around the Christmas tree, "Hark the herald angels sing," with all of his friends. But there's something else, something I had not noticed until just a few years ago, actually, is that earlier on, before Charlie Brown finds his freedom and restoration, for Linus, the kid with the security blanket, when he's in the moment of retelling the Christmas story, right at the moment where he's repeating the angel's message to the shepherds to fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, right at that moment, he drops his security blanket, the one that he's never ever let go of before. Linus has always relied on his security blanket to feel protected, to feel safe. Yet again, at those mere words, "fear not," he finds the freedom to let go, has found in Jesus a protection, a security far better than any blanket. And just a bit later, Linus experiences even more freedom. Because Linus has found freedom in the message and truth of Christmas, he can give up his blanket entirely, wrap it around his sad little tree. Because Linus has found security in Jesus, he can give up his symbol of security and employ it in compassionate love for others, even a little tree. The good news and truth of Christmas free Linus and Charlie Brown alike. And the good news and truth of Christmas frees us if we'll let it. Christmas shows us the good news of God's greatness. Just think what God did to arrange for the birth of Jesus in Bethlehem. A decree went out from the Emperor of Rome. A peasant family went to their ancestral home for a time with relatives. And if God is able to work through the great and the large to bring his own son into this world as a human, what is God doing in your life right now to bring good things? Here's the thing. When we begin to take in the truth that God is in control, in loving control, it frees us from our continuing felt need to be in control of our own life, which means we can rest. We're not in control of our lives. Jesus is. This Christ child is. And that's good news. Christmas also puts on full display the good news of God's grace. Just think who God reached out to first to include in his own son's human birth. A bunch of scruffy shepherds. Now, it's not that shepherds were doing anything particularly nasty or unclean. It's just a low status job. It's not the kind of thing that people aspired to then, or for the most part now. And yet, the angel choirs of heaven went to a bunch of scruffy shepherds to give them the good news. Not because they were something, but because God is gracious in inviting everyone. And if God is graciously inviting everyone, including me and you, what do we have left to prove? We can live freely simply because we are loved. Christmas also puts on full display the truth of God's glory. That God's words, God's promises, they're not like this little ball of fluff that any little thing can come by and blow them away. No. God's words have weight, have substance. God's words, God's promises, God's love and his compassion for us human beings have weight. They matter, they're substantial, and we can rely on them when we're faced with difficulties, and we all have them. When there's people in our lives who are after us, and we all have them. We can remind ourselves that whatever else it is that faces us, it's like this. It's gonna go away. And God's love and compassion and commitment to us is eternal and unchanging. And this is a poor substitute for the infinite immensity of God's goodness towards us. And yes, God's goodness. Anything and everything in our lives that we have tasted and enjoyed, taken in and delighted in, are only just bits and pieces of the infinite immensity of God's goodness. Every good gift is given to us to enjoy as a piece, as a taste, as a way of looking forward to the infinite immensity of just bounty that awaits us when we know God face to face, this God who has come into our world to be one of us at Christmas. So take heart. God is great and sovereign and in control, so I and you don't need to be. God is gracious, inviting us scruffy, who knows who, in to be with him, and we don't have to prove ourselves to anyone. Unlike the fluff that simply goes wherever the wind blows, God and his great promises to us are reliable and unchanging. And his infinite goodness and mercy last forever, unchanging in their beauty as they come to us at Christmas. And once we come to know him, this Jesus who comes for us at Christmas, we are freed from having to look anywhere else for ultimate satisfaction, and freed to enjoy everything good that comes our way because it comes from God. Friends, let's all open ourselves up to the truth of God that comes to us at Christmas and find ourselves healed and free. Merry Christmas. May God be with you this day and always. It's so good to just be together at Christmas. If you found this helpful, please comment or message us or email us, or there's this old-fashioned thing called a telephone. By all means, let's dialogue. Conversation is a great thing. And yes, here on social media, please like, comment, subscribe, do the social media things. Not only is it the beginning stages of conversation, but it helps other people discover what you've discovered and begin to be community together. And please consider joining us for worship, for other things in the new year as we learn the love of Jesus together as a church for the neighborhood. And may our good and gracious and great and glorious God be with you. Merry Christmas.